Okay, so the Rebbe is explaining here the different madrigas. He's already explained Achoisi, and now he's in the middle of Rayosi. He explained Achoisi is the level of Likus, which is invested directly in creation, which the Rebbe pulled back a layer, and it's not only the Dvar Hashem, but as explained, the Rotzen Hashem, and explained the difference between having merely the Dvar Hashem invested in Bria, in contrast to the Rotzen, as we explained at length in the previous Ois. And now, like you say, he began the Avodah of Rayosi, based on the Medrash that Rayosi means Parnasosi, my sustainer. And that implies that the same way that food causes the chibur, the connection between the neshama and the guf, so too which otherwise would not be one. So too there's an avodah of a yid. There's a level of avodah where yid is mamshich in creation, a level of a likus that would not naturally be in creation. And in general, it's the avodah of Torah, because Torah is called lechem. The pasuk says, "L'chu lachmi, lachmu balachmi." Come and partake of my bread, says the Eibishter. So now to explain in more detail, bottom of page 413. Bir malis haveda rayosi, alaveda dachoisim. To explain the mile of the haveda rayosi, which is my friend. But he explains here as in the roya, as in shepherd, or as in the sustainer of the avodah v'achaysi. The avodah v'achaysi mitzad avativis. As we said before, that the love between siblings is natural. Gam pulosa by ichoy da'olam. And explained that the word achaysi comes from the word ichoy, which means anybody
being bound up,
to stitch together, sew together. The world with alikos, true, however, the level of achos is a connection to godliness, but it's the level of godliness that's invested and connected with teva. The avodah at the level of achos is that we show a yid that the whole metzius of the world is a likus. And hence the Nefesh Bahamis, as he said earlier, can understand this. Nefesh Bahamis wants the world. So what's the reality of the world? Is a likus. You want the real deal. But still, at this level alone, that's where it ends. It can still be munach ba'olam in Yiddish kenach in ganzen liegen in Welt. The person can be submerged in the world. That means to say that the world in a way that is a reflection of godliness, but still he's in creation, he's in Welt. And this avodah doesn't take him out of the constraints of the world. In Yiddish, es reißt him nicht ab vom Welt, which literally means it doesn't tear him away from the world. But therefore the higher avodah is parnasosi, my sustainer, my nourisher, my provider. To connect the likus, which is higher than creation altogether. In a way that it should be investedly, there should fill creation. In other words, again, the level of achaysi is recognizing the reality. The avodah of let's say achaysi. The avodah of Rayosi is already a chidush, bringing into the world something which naturally would not be in the world. Achaysi is mitzad the Eibishter's creation. So it's recognizing the truth of creation, but not going beyond it. In order to bring, so then the first level, which is classic Memala Kalal Min, so it naturally fills the world. Dvar Hashem, even the Rotzen. But here we're talking about being mamshich, a level of likus, which is relatively infinite into the world. It should be memale So to do that, you need a third level. As it's sicherlich is Avodah Kazu, shemetziyo yusim miklolis in Yinateva, miklolis in Yinateva. It's got to be an avodah that is completely beyond the limits of creation, nature in general, and the world b'chlal. And what is that? This is in general the distinction between avodas Hashem from the perspective of the conscious manner, the conscious levels of the nefesh. So the two levels of b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha. So these are all levels of seichel and midas that are and even the rotzen. B'chol levavcha in general is the midas, and b'chol nafshecha nefesh is rotzen. So this is still the level of achaysi. But now we're talking about lavud is the b'chol ma'itcha. Now we're talking about b'chol ma'itcha, which means with all your might, which also means ma'it extreme, beyond creation. Shamayli magbalas hakeches v'akelim shaleitz higher than his natural consciousness. Again, even more than I want, even more than I understand, more than I feel. Shekol's man shemugul b'akelim shalei, as long as the person is limited in his avodah to his will and his understanding and his emotions. In gam kashem embalas hakelim b'teichen shel kedusha. So he's got a beautiful life, and he's filling all of. Keli means to say his faculties, his mind and heart and soul, and it's all in Kedusha, but it's all what? Predictable, and it's all limited, and it's all self-contained. It's not the tachlis avodah that Hashem is asking, because the person is still not going beyond his limits. It's a beautiful avodah, but it's bakbola. And the kavanah the Eibishter wants is that we should be mamshich in Welt, which is totally beyond creation. He hasn't gone out of his limits, so therefore he cannot be mamshich in the world, and of course that's beyond limits. The true level of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which is Kodesh, and Kodesh should be Mimalas Olam, fill and be invested in creation. So how does a yid affect that kiyum? Not through the avodah of the keiches mugbolim, the limited faculties of the soul. Kimal yidei avodah beifin shel yitzim mit yidei v'akbala davke. His avodah has to be in a way that he breaks his own boundaries. And what is it, b'chalal? Oh, there's plenty of mamorim. I made 15. You brought them all down?
They're not here.
They're not up there.
Yeah, one of them.
That's good.
I'm responsible for the.
You sure you checked up there?
Yeah.
Send you a picture.
I'll make more copies. Very okay. You also, Moishe, also don't have.
I have a picture of one.
Huh?
I have a picture of it.
I have a picture of it.
And you just sent it to me, so
Oh, okay. So towards the end of Isai. So what's the avodah? So therefore, the avodah of Rayasi Panasosi nasa idei Torah. Now, the avodah of Achayis was also Torah. If he's invoking Rotzen, certainly Seichel Amidas. So what's the chiddush of Rayasi Torah? So the chiddush is there's different ways to learn Torah. It's not so much that the Torah mitzad the Seichel of Torah, but Torah mitzad the Likus of Torah. Torah yichachmosei v'retzinish HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Torah is not stam seichel, but it's chacham and ratzon of Hashem. And moreover, that's not enough either, because that's still bakbola. V'alpaim shana kodma la'olam, and the pnimius of Torah, the essence of Torah is, as Chazal say, 2,000 years before creation, Hashem conceived Torah, which means not time but level. Shelamayim mikol seder shtalshalos. This is higher than all of Seder Shtalshal, L'chein al Yoda, Nasa Sing Derayos Panasosi. So he seems to imply that this level of limud, not stam limud, learning and understanding, but it's limud in the way that it connects to the giver of Torah. As Torah is higher than creation. So this is the avodah of being mamshich into the world, Rayosi Panasosi, my sustainer, my provider, Sho'inyin Hamshocha B'Seder Shtalshalos, She'akadosh Baruch Hu Ma'aleh Solam. And here he brings down HaKadosh Baruch Hu, higher than creation into creation. It's the avodah of Torah, again, but learning Torah in a way, cognizant and connecting to the Neis and HaTorah.
So Chaysi is the way then be the Agboa?
Again, Achaisi, yeah, is what?
Is the way within the limits?
Within the limits of his own nefesh.
What's not doesn't bring out the mind. Is not Torah.
He's not learning Torah. I hear this whole government. So that's what I'm asking you. If he's learning Torah, so what's they suffer here? Achaisi and Rotzen, they said not only Seichel and Midas, not only Seichel and Midas, but he's connecting to the Rotzen Hashem.
He doesn't emphasize on the Torah.
No, he's nispal by...
But that's not an answer. The fact is that Achaisi is Avodah Limud Torah. So what is what? So what's added in Avodah of Rayosi?
Everything is limited Torah.
So then, so good. So explain the answer. So if Limud Torah is the level of Achaisi, what's the Chiddush of Rayosi?
I don't see an Achaisi limited Torah.
How could it be that a Yid is serving the level of the Eivish B'chol Avav V'chol Nafshchan? He's not learning Torah. What are you talking about? He's learning Torah and it's b'shleimus, complete shleimus. It's missing nothing from Shulchan Aruch, including the Chiv of Limud Torah and Kiyam Mitzvahs, everything. B'chol Avav V'chol Nafshcha. B'chol Nafshcha is even afilu noitlas Nafshcha, even to the point of some level of Mesidas Nefesh. But what do you mean? That's not an answer. Everything. So what's your answer then? Everything is.
The Avodah of Achaisi is just recognizing the reality. You're not a kaviyachol. It's l'mayla l'mata. The whole Achaisi is the Eibish's love, the natural love that he has to us, and that we have a natural love to him. Rayosi is we're Moishe.
So I'm asking you. That's a very simple question. At the level of Achaisi, the Jew is not learning Torah. So then what is added by Rayosi? What's added? So I'm answering that what's added is what he catches here, what he stresses here at the end of the Maimon. That the Chachmas of Ritzoyna in Kod Mala Olam, that is ofen of limud at the level of B'chol Ma'oitcha, which is what explains that Rayosi is, he's not stam learning. But he's learning in a way that's connecting to the Neis and HaTorah, to the level of Likus, and appreciating and connecting the level of Likus, which is higher than creation. We were explaining this yesterday at Shalosh Shudas. I don't know if you heard. Not yesterday. Whatever you were there. This is the Yain Shibbatar, the Seides HaTorah, which induced the Kleis HaNefesh of Rabbi and Rabbi Zera, and they saw this Purim. You have to explain this. I have to add what he's adding here in Pel Mamish over the Avodah previously. The Avodah previously is a very high Avodah, including definitely Limud Torah for sure. Everything. But here is, the Kvetch is not Stam Torah, but again, the essence of Torah. Yeah, Vav. Still not finished. What could be higher? Still two more levels. Yonosi, my dav, and then Tamasi, my wholesome one. But even these Avedas of my sister, my Rayosi, Kshurim Adayin, him say the Ishtal Shalos, still connected to say the Ishtal Shalos. How so? Either in Besei the Ishtal Shalos Atzmai, either Mamish say the Ishtal Shalos, which is Achaisi, or as we just described now, the higher Aveda, Kefishim Amshichim, Bibchina Shalamayim Besei the Ishtal Shalos, and Yid is Mamshich higher, Lisak Lizborcham Balasoilam Rayosi. But still, you say something is higher than something else, by those very words itself, higher, you're already drawing an association. So it's still connected to creation. So then there's a higher Aveda. In other words, as you said, he's saying now, Limud Torah. Even Limud Torah that a person learns with an appreciation, Al Rebbe says in Tanya, that he has from time to time to stop learning and to be mizbeinen, that what he's learning is Elikus from the Eibishter and so on, but at the end of the day, the Avodah of Limud Torah is Avodah of Seichel. So it's taka level of Elikus higher than Ishtal but connected to Ishtal and there's a higher, pure Avodah. And it's not the pshat either, obviously, that these are levels that one leaves behind. Not a chaysi, now it's this. It's all concurrent. But then there's the higher avodah, which is called my dove. What's the avodah of Yinosi? Shizel kemoshol hayonim, like the doves. Shemistaklim ze bazeh, they look at each other. That's what the dove is, the symbol of love. Two reasons. First of all, the dove is loyal to its mate for life, and secondly, they have this teva that they look at each other, they gaze at each other. But in such a way that the very essential tainug, delight in each other, is expressed in this look. The klolos in istaklos, because in general we understand, appreciate that looking, seeing, it's the highest, it touches the person the deepest way, the strongest and deepest way when you see something. Which is, of course, why the little phones are so on the one hand, wonderful and terrible, if it's the wrong things. Because seeing enters and touches the nefesh in a very deep way, and causes samtos means the truth of what you're seeing, one connects to in the deepest way. It's even physically seeing. Or when you're seeing with the eye of the mind, in the highest way of seeing, seeing and visamtos and the truth of what you're looking at. So the truth means, of course, it's true, but that true becomes your truth. The b'chinas chachma, that's the purest level of chachma. I mean, we have to, the mind is not going to a lot of detail explaining the madregas here, but chachma, hang on, we just went beyond the ratzon. In pain, never mind in the avodah of Rayossi, Achosi was already ratzon. But there, avodah of Achosi was not so much. There was bringing out the Eibishter's ratzon is vested in creation, and the person is experiencing that, understanding it intellectually. However, in the avodah of b'chol havav v'chol nafshecha, l'chayra, that's already seichel and even ratzon. So why is he saying now, all of a sudden now it's b'chinas chachma? The answer is, of course, everything is relative. There's different levels of chachma, and that's why he's saying the highest level, the pnimis of chachma mamish, is beyond totally an intellectual experience. For Inyan, next words, listakola b'yikora de malka. It's the gaze upon the glory of the king. So what he's saying here in summary is, this is not the avodah of understanding at all, but the avodah of seeing. This is the avodah of my dove. He said before, coming to the base of Migdash, the pasuk says the person should come lirois to see. It can also be read lirois to be seen. So first is the istaklis milamata lamaila. He looks balirois. Like these are nas gam istaklis milamata lamata. This at least is Hashem's gaze of love in response. Ein avayel tzaddikim, as the pasuk says, the eyes of Hashem are and the tzaddikim every year that achieves this avodah that we're talking about is this deep connection that can't be articulated in any words or language. It's this takola b'yikora de malka. Vinyan zen is shaykh l'seidish klal, and this is a level, a connection of love that's totally beyond the constraints of ishtalshalos, of the conscious levels of the nefesh. This is a complete state of bittul or unification, of looking. Which expresses his entire tainug, meaning to say his entire tainug, his entire pleasure and delight is in nothing else but in the likus. And in this moment, with the eyes lock, as it were, between the Yid and the Eibishter, so this is a fusion and iskashrus and a unity that goes beyond even the unity of achieved through learning Torah in such a way that he's cognizant of the Neisan HaTorah, or Apayim Kod Nishon HaTorah Lo'olam, the Torah's hidden Ishtalshalos, which is still filtered through the intellectual processes he learns. He is beyond that. Here is this silent gaze and connection, deep, the deepest love possible, a love of Tainug, which means I have no other. Tainug means, when it's revealed in this level, it means there's nothing else that interests me. Not also love you, but it's the only love and the only pleasure that I have. But still not the ultimate avoid. Yeah, page 415. Yes? And after these staklas bikora de malka, gazing at the king's glory, so then comes avoid kvisha nikar b'shem tamosi. Now he explains it, tamosi, me, my wholesome one means you make me whole. Meloshen shleimus, tmimus, wholesome. V'hainu shavidosim shel yisod b'efen shenaisim shutiv lakadosh baruch. Here is a level kind of on par with the Eibishter. Not just on par, but a shutif. And what does a partner do? A partner completes. You have a partner because he brings something to the table that you couldn't do. If you could do it yourself, you wouldn't have a partner. So what does this mean? The Eibishter needs. This is touching the Eibishter on such a level that completes him, because it touches a level of the Eibishter's deepest need, kilamaisa yodecha tichsoif, as the pasuk says in Iyov. For the works of your hands, tichsoif, you long, referring to the Eibishter. The works of your hands are us. You long for the works of your hands. Our performance, which you have made, tichsoif, meloshen, desire. Kesef is called kesef because people desire it. You desire. So here it's the ultimate of this ave. That's as he goes on to explain now. Now the Rebbe takes you the whole journey now, from the beginning of Pischili Kechudah Shel Machat. So first is through the avodah b'efen shinam such. That the Mesiris Nefesh, which begins the whole Avodah. As I said before, it's not that these levels are rungs that you leave behind and proceed to higher levels of Avodah. It's not. All these levels remain building on each other. And the emes is, as he goes on to say now, that the first one is the critical one, connected with the final Avodah. Because what's the first avodah, as you said, was Mesiris Nefesh. So when the Mesiris Nefesh is, and as we explained at length, it's in one nekuda at least, Kechudah Shel Machat. But that's not negotiable. So when the avodah is such, the Mesiris Nefesh that began the whole avodah continues and permeates. So inyan da'chaisi. First, it permeates the avodah of achaisi, which achaisi is the first conscious level which engages self. Achaisi is engaging in the person on a level of his conscious self with the limited faculties, intellect, emotion. And then the Mesiris Nefesh continues. In other words, what does it mean, Mesiris Nefesh? It means that why understand? Why feel? Because you want. Mesiris Nefesh and Kabbalah's oil continues this nekuda, this Kechudah Shel Machat, permeates all of the subsequent avodas. I have to have an answer, I have to feel, I don't have to understand, I don't have to feel. But you want that. So the whole avodah of achaisi and all of these conscious, and later the Tainug, and he says very pleasurable, ultimately pleasurable, fulfilling experiences, it's all based on the Kechudah Shel Machat. That's the key, the chidush of the whole avodah here. And that's why these avodas are true and lasting. And as he said earlier in the Maimer, that this is shaykh even in the Zman HaGolos, when everything is sleeping, all the keiches hanevesh are not functioning. In other words, he's totally submerged in Devarim Gashmi, or even worse. But the premise of the heart of every Jew is forever responsive. And the Eibishter comes kel dedi doifek and and persistently knocking on the door. But the Rebbe will say later, what if you don't open the door? Maimon will continue later. He doesn't even hear the knock, because the knock is drowned out by the noise and the passion and the desire of Nefesh Bahamis, Nilam Haza, and his Taivas. That will be dealt with. All right, it's already 2 minutes to 7. Okay, so the story will be Hashem continue tomorrow. Yeah, so we stop it here. Oh, 1 second.